So as we left off, we were talking about our base 1 and our base 2. Now, base 1, as we said, is going to be our longer base. Okay, so that's where the 11 and 25 hundredths will go. And our 6 and 25 hundredths will be our base 2. Now we need to multiply this by the height. Well, the height is always going to be the distance from one base to the next. And it's going to form that right angle. So here is our X marks the spot. And here's our height from one base to the next base. And that's 5 feet. Now you're not going to see a whole lot of trapezoids like this. Okay, it's a little bit different of a trapezoid, and it's rotated to look on it, where its bases aren't necessarily top, bottom, horizontal. Okay, but as an example, you might see. So once you have your equation set, where you can go ahead and attempt to solve. So just like order of operations tells us, we're going to go ahead and solve what's inside the parentheses. If you need to be writing this down along with me. So we have half. And then we can take our calculator out and we can solve what's inside the parentheses. So we have 11 and 25 hundredths plus 6 and 25 hundredths. I have this in my calculator below. You should as well. I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. I missed a decimal there. Let me retype that in. Okay, should have that in your calculator. Then go ahead and hit enter. And when you do that, you're going to end up with 17 and 5 tenths. Okay. Now we can take these three values and go ahead and multiply them together. So we have 1/2 multiplied by 17 and a half multiplied by 5. So I'm going to make my screen larger again. We're going to type in this into our calculator. So here's 1. And we're going to hit the ABC button. So 1 over 2, so 1/2. Now we're going to hit the multiplication symbol. We're going to type in 17 decimal 5, so 17 and a half or 17 and 5 tenths, and multiply that by 5. Okay, this is exactly what you should have in your calculator at this moment. 1/2 multiplied by 17, 5 tenths multiplied by 5. When you hit enter, you'll get 43 and 75 hundredths. So 43 decimal 75 hundredths. Now we're almost to our final answer. We just have to include our units. And they're all feet this time around. So we're going to write feet. And since we're dealing with area, it's going to be squared. So the area of this trapezoid is 43 and 75 hundredths feet squared. Let's look at a couple more examples. Now, we have a builder who needs to cut one stone in the shape of a trapezoid to fit in the space. What's the area of the front side of the stone? So what's the area of this front side of the stone, which is in the shape of a trapezoid? Okay. So first we need to recall what our formula for area of a trapezoid is going to be. In our formula for area of a trapezoid, let's all write this down together. We have A equals 1/2 multiplied in parentheses base 1 plus base 2 close parentheses multiplied by the height. I want you guys to take a chance here on your own. Look at this trapezoid that we have here, where we have 12 inches, 6 inches, and 5 inches. And I want you guys to use those values and see if you can evaluate for the area of the trapezoid on your own. Okay? Go ahead, take a moment, and do that now. Okay, guys, so to find the area of this trapezoid, we need to identify what base 1 and base 2 are. So let me rewrite. Let's bring down our A, our equal sign, and our half. I'm going to put multiplication sign in the first parentheses. So base 1 and base 2, where does that come from? Well, recall the base 1 and base 2 will always be parallel to each other. They'll always be parallel lines. They'll never run into each other. Well, so what would be some parallel lines here? Well, if we look at these side ones, it's these side lines of the trapezoid, okay, or side edges, they are not parallel, okay? They're eventually going to run into each other. But what is parallel is these top lines, or these top, we may call edges of the trapezoid. So those are parallel lines, they'll never touch each other. Now we said that larger base is going to be base 1, so base 1 in this case will be 12, plus base 2, which we'll say is 6. Okay. You need to multiply that by the height. Well, recall the height is always going to be the distance between the bases. That forms that right angle, so X marks the spot. So our height, I just covered it up, but our height is going to be 5 inches. Now we have that in place, we can solve the first step, which is the parentheses, our grouping. So we have A equals 1/2 multiplied. We're going to solve what 12 plus 6 is, which is 18. So multiplied by 18, multiplied by 5. Okay. Now we're going to break out our calculator again. So we have area equals 1/2 multiplied by 18 multiplied by 5. Okay. So here's our calculator. Follow along with me here. We're going to type in the half, so 1. Then we're going to go up to ABC. There's the ABC button. Hit that. We're going to type in the 2. So there's our 1/2. Okay. Hit multiply. We're going to type in 18. So there's 18. Go ahead and hit the multiplication sign again. We'll type in the 5. So you should have 1/2 multiplied by 18 multiplied by 5. Once you have that, you may hit enter. You will get 45 as your answer. So our area for this trapezoid, which is only the front part of the stone here, not the whole stone, just this front surface, we're going to get 45. Our units for all our values were inches. But since we're dealing with area, that's what we found, we're going to have inches squared. Okay? So area of this trapezoid is 45 inches squared. So again, if you need to, you can pause the video on your own and take a look at what we're doing here to figure all of this out. Okay. Here we go. We have another one. It's going to be a little trickier. Okay. Using that formula for area of a trapezoid, A equals 1/2 multiplied by base 1 plus base 2 in parentheses multiplied by h. Okay. Use that formula to go ahead and see if you can solve for this area of a trapezoid. You guys go ahead and tackle that now. Okay guys, to figure this one out, same as before, we'll put A equals 1/2 multiplied in parentheses. Okay. We need our base 1. Okay, base 1 and base 2 are going to come from these two parallel lines to each other. And base 1 is going to be the longer side, so we're going to look at this one the whole way. Well, which one do you choose here? You have a 2 and a 9. Well, only one of them is representing the entire distance. 2 is just representing the distance from what do we have here? The intersection of these lines, the point of this trapezoid to the perpendicular line, whereas 9 centimeters is the length of the entire side of the base. So 9 centimeters is going to be our base 1. Our base 2 is the shorter side, shorter opposite parallel side, which in this case is 3. You have 9 plus 3 in parentheses, multiplied by the height. Okay, our height is the distance from the two bases formed by that perpendicular right angle. So we got X marks the spot. Always find that. It'll always tell you your height. In this case, our height's 6 centimeters. Okay. We got to follow order of operations now. Bring down our half, multiplied by, so now we're solving what's inside the parentheses, 9 plus 3, which is 12. And then multiply that by the height, which is 6 this time. Okay. So with our calculators, again, we're going to type in half multiplied by 12 multiplied by 6. So we have our half. So there's our 1, our ABC button to put in our fraction. So there's 1/2. And we have multiplied by 12 and multiplied by 6. So we've done that. You can hit enter, and we're going to get 36 as our area. It's a rough 3 there. So 36. When you look at our units, all of our units are centimeters. Good there. So 36 centimeters, but since it's area, centimeters is going to be squared. Okay. I got one more for you guys. Hang in with me. It's our last one. Okay, very similar to the question before. I want you guys to go ahead and attempt to find the area of this trapezoid using that formula for area of a trapezoid. Always write it down first. So A equals 1/2 multiplied by in parentheses base 1 plus base 2 in parentheses multiplied by height. Okay guys, take a moment, use this formula, and go ahead and answer this question. Do that now. Okay guys, so for this one, we have area equals half multiplied by parentheses. We need base 1 and base 2. Base 1 and base 2 are coming from those opposite parallel sides. And it's going to be the larger one is base 1. So we want the entire distance. The entire distance here is 8 feet. So base 1 is 8 plus base 2, which is 4. So we have 8 plus 4 in parentheses multiplied by the height, which in this case the height is at the distance from base to base marked by that right angle. So we get 4 as our height. Then we can go ahead and begin to solve. So we have A equals half multiplied by the answer from the inside of parentheses, 8 plus 4, which is 12, multiplied by the height 4. Then in your calculator, we could type this in. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have 1/2 multiplied by 12 multiplied by 4, which gets us 24. So going back, we can go ahead and write 24 down. And then we need our units. All of our units are feet. So it's 24 feet. And lastly, since it's area, it is going to be squared. Okay guys, I know this is maybe a little challenging, a lot more to work through with the algebra and the formula. Okay, if you need any help at all, please let me know, or let any of the other math teachers know. If you need to rewind parts of this video, please do that as well. You can rewatch it here, you can rewatch it on YouTube. Please try to do what you can to get a real nice solid understanding of this formula. Okay. Like I said, if you have any questions, just let us know. Otherwise, we hope that you have a fantastic rest of your day, and look forward to seeing you soon. Okay guys, have a great one.